Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor at USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial is set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being in class with us today. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. Welcome, Guineith.
Hello, Vincent. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really well. And I was stomping around the farmhouse the last couple of days, thinking about these parasites, these people who steal from everybody, who want to tell us all what to do. I'm talking about the Gates clan, the Bezos clan, the Soros clan, the Zuckerberg clan, and then of course Congress, and all of these people who want what we have, but they want to take it from us, and they want to tell us what to do. Like Bill Gates wants to spray the skies with chalk, because of global warming. What's wrong with just saying, oh, y'all, you can't do everything you want to do because we're destroying the planet. So we're going to have some rules that make sense. And we're going to start with us, meaning the ruling class. So we're not going to fly anymore. We're not going to buy any more yachts. We're actually not even going to use our yachts. We're not going to go on cruises. We're not going to fly everywhere like the jet set. We're not going to do these things that are destroying the planet. And we're going to lead by example. But they won't do that. They want us to stop using energy and stop polluting. And frankly, they feel there are too many of us, and they want to eliminate us with vaccines and etc. And I was stomping around the farmhouse for the last couple of days thinking about these things. And then I got an email, and I haven't said anything about it, but then I got an email from Guineith Isaacs saying the same thing.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. I think I call them those who think they run the show, or those who think they rule us. In reality, they don't really run anything, because, for one thing, time and chance happens to everybody, and they'll get their day before the throne of the Almighty one day. They're going to have to answer for all their actions, But this is the truth. We are going to have to just learn how to live without them. And because they're taking over all of they've taken over. It's not like that they're going to do it. They did it, and they did it a long time ago, and they did it while we were all sleeping, And, the Bible said it would be that way. Men would sleep, and then while they slept, the enemy would sow tares. That means it would sow weeds. And not only that, that there would be this situation would develop where if the Lord didn't return, that no flesh would be spared. That's the words that the Bible uses. No flesh would be spared. That doesn't just mean no humans would be spared. That means no flesh would be spared. There's other creatures on this earth besides us that have flesh. Everything, in fact, has flesh. Okay? Chickens and cows, wild animals, sheep, even little bugs and mice and all that. So I don't like bugs and mice. It's an endless thing of trapping mice. Every single day I trap mice and they never end. But it keeps their numbers down. But they've got little mouse bodies. And until they land in my traps, they're just minding their own business. I'm sure they don't even have a comprehension that they're a problem for me. But, they need to be trapped, because otherwise the population numbers will just balloon out of control. We used to have a cat, but that cat grew old and died, and I haven't been able to replace it because of a stupid set of government rules that restrict the breeding of cats. Used to be everybody's cat would have kittens, and then, you'd be able to go to somebody whose cat just had some kittens and say, excuse me, would I be able to have a kitten or two off of you, because I need to have a cat? And I'll say, yeah, sure, take as many as you want. We want rid of them, But no, not these days. And because of that, they've got this population explosion in mice, and they can't seem to work out why. This is an example of these people that don't think. They've got no foresight. We can't get a cat. Neither can anybody else, because nobody seems to have cats anymore. Because about 10 years ago, they banned everybody from having cats, just about. Or you can have a cat, in the city. Out here, I don't think anyone cares or minds or cares or knows or whatever. But that doesn't matter, because a lot of the cat population's been reduced. Because you've had a reduction in the cat population, and you've had a whole lot of ridiculous rules, like that everybody who has a cat has to have their cat inside or outside in a cattery. That's a cage that they build in their backyard that the cat has to live in, outside. Who ever heard of such a stupid thing? But because of this, and that your cat has to be desexed, and that you've got licensing fees and microchips and so on and so forth, oh my gosh, all so that you can own a stupid cat. But cats are not stupid. Cats eat mice. That's why people have them. I don't even particularly like cats, but I've always had a cat because they're such good mouses. Up until our last cat died, probably about a year or two, however long it was ago, a few years back now. And probably about a year or two that she's been dead. But they get old. They die. This is it. And because of that, the cat population has gone away. You've got a mouse situation has developed. And so now I'm forever trapping mice. I would trap probably, 30 mice a week maybe. That's a lot of mice. And if I wasn't trapping them every single week, then the population would balloon, and it is ballooning out of control. That's a microcosm of what we are, of a bigger problem. Okay? People are listening to so many of the government's rules. The government don't know what they're talking about. And people are blindly following their rules. And because of that, instead of thinking for themselves, living their own lives, and doing what they need to do, regardless of what the government says, then, any situation that you could possibly imagine is just going out of control. Like this thing I heard in the top of the hour news, where Dodge is going to build an electric car plant just outside of Detroit. What? For one thing, it's going to be an electric vehicle. They are claiming that it's going to have 400 miles to the charge. And they're claiming that it's going to be a heavy vehicle suitable for family use, and that they're going to build it just outside of Detroit. What the dickens is going on? Why not just put the car factory in Detroit, where you used to build cars, where you've got the river, maybe it's pretty polluted, but why not get one of these buildings that was a factory, that was a car factory a long time ago in the middle of Detroit, and fix it and start making cars there again? They used to make cars in Detroit for a very, very good reason. Because you had population base, you had the river. Now, a river is a source not just of water, but also of transport. Okay? It's a way that you can get parts in, raw materials in, and it's a way that you can get your product out. That's what a river is. It's not just a source of water, but it's also a source of water. And you need to have water in any manufacturing process. You just do. And, maybe you need it to, run the machines. You could put a generator in the river, and you could run, use it to generate electricity for free, forever. And there's been rivers like that all over the world have had generators put in them, and they provide endless free electricity. But, these people are not thinking. They're probably going to put it out in the middle of the field somewhere, which is like miles from anywhere, miles from any population base, miles from any, source of water for their manufacturing process, miles from any source of just miles from anything. They don't think. They're not thinking about this, anything. And because of this, all their processes are failing, left, right, and center, because they don't know how to organize anything. They could not organize their way out of a paper bag. This is it. And I probably sound as if I'm a bit hacked off, and I am. I'm really hacked off at them because they're a bunch of I think I used the word megalomaniac, psychopathic Satanists who, that they're wrecking everything. They can't run anything, and we're going to have to learn how to live our lives without them. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the abandoned factories. Actually, there are plenty of them that could be used.
Yeah.
And for example, there's in Buick City in Flint, Michigan, in the same state as Detroit, there's an abandoned factory that used to produce cars. There's the Fisher body plant, and General Motors used to have their bodies, car bodies made by Fisher, and it would say "body by Fisher" right on the threshold, right where your foot would cross when you get into the vehicles, and that's the Fisher body plant in Detroit, Michigan. Then there's the Studebaker building in New York, United States of America. Then there's there's Alfa Romeo, but let's see what else. Packard. There's the Packard plant in Detroit, Michigan. That's abandoned as well. And then there's the Highland Park Ford plant in Michigan. That's abandoned. And then there's also the American Motors plant. They're all abandoned. They could be used, just as you said. We'll be right back. Guineith is with us live in Australia. So, Guineith, you were talking about cats. We have 5 cats here at the farm. And, they're nice. We've trained them. Most of them come when we call them, literally. And they all catch mice, all of them. And because they are here at the farm, and I've decided that is a kind of a security system, if you will, to protect the equipment from the mice that is plaguing Australia. We have mice here too. A lot of them are dead, and that's because the cats kill them. They catch them, they hunt them, they kill them, and they eat them. 8 parts of them. They don't eat the heads. They leave the heads on by the doors, like the back door. They leave them for us to see how many mice they've killed. But the reason I'm telling you this is there's absolutely no way that the government is going to tell me that I can't have cats. or that the Finelli family can't have cats, because they are necessary here at our farm. And on Friday, I've invited one of our students who bought a house in a different state from where he lived. He called in and talked about his job and how miserable it was, and he decided he was going to take the bull by the horns, use his savings, buy a house, and fix it up. And on Friday, hour number 1, I'm going to work with him and teach him and anyone who wants to listen, pay attention and be in class, how you can use tax deductions. So for this particular house, it's his business. He's going to run his business out of his house. And I'm going to teach all of you who want to listen how you can take the same tax deductions that Donald Trump takes, all the legal ones, and, not offshore accounts and that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about how you can buy paint and have it be a tax deduction, how you can buy a ceiling fan, how you can buy wiring, how you can put up a fence for your dogs around your property and have that be a tax deduction, how your lawnmower can be a tax deduction, your phone, electric bill, the re-roofing, the repairs of the roof, the siding, whatever it is. I'm going to teach how you can legally and according to the tax code use these repairs and improvements as tax deductions for your home-based business. Now, I deduct all 5 of our cats against our income. And our dogs. I deduct all of them as well. And why do I do that? Because I can. Why? Because the tax code says I can. And I do. And anyone who doesn't do that, who has a business, who can legitimately do it, anyone who can and doesn't is either ignorant of the rules or foolish. Anyone who's not doing that is overpaying if you meet the rules of the tax code. Now, I invite the IRS to tune in, and I'm even going to give the telephone number to call in. If you're an IRS agent and you want to challenge me, I'm going to give you the number. We'll even pay for the call. 866-582-9933. That's hour number 1, 9 a.m. through 10 a.m. Central Time on Friday, this Friday. If you'd like to give us a call and tell us what you think, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But bear in mind, I'm going to challenge you, and I'm going to come after you with the facts. So if you're shy, I suggest you don't call in. But if you're tough and you want to go after Vin Finelli, go ahead. That's Friday, 9 a.m. through 10 a.m. Central Time, 866-582-9933. Gwyneth, do you think I said that clear enough?
Yeah, I think you did. And, not having a cat is a constant battle with the mice, and this is it. And like I said, I'm trapping, I would say, probably at least 30 mice a week. And if I wasn't trapping them, then their numbers would balloon. And the type of trap that I use is called a live capture trap. So it's not one of these little spring things that snaps shut on the mouse's back and breaks its back, and then you've got to get up and reset it. So I bait it once a day, bait the traps once a day, and I set them out in places where I've noticed mouse activity. And then the mouse smells the bait, and it's got a little ramp with a little door. So the mouse crawls in and trips the little seesaw ramp, and it can get in and it eats peanut butter, but it can't get out again.
And what do you do with the mice? Tell us when we come back.
Yeah.
I had a quick comment before we get into what do you do with the mice that you catch alive in these live traps. Class, have you noticed that the news is spending more and more time on sports and its associated minutia? Have you noticed that? I guess they think that everyone is the GDP, and they don't realize that not everybody is the GDP, especially here at USA Prepares. None of us at USA Prepares is the GDP. Gwyneth? So the question is, what do you do with the live mice that you catch?
Okay. If anyone's a bit sensitive, then they probably should tune out for the next minute or so. The trap is probably about 12 inches long, about 6 inches wide, and about 1 inch or just over an inch thick. Okay? So I get the whole trap, I do not open it, and I fill up a 5-gallon bucket with water, and I put the whole trap in the 5-gallon bucket and I drown them. And then I get the drowned dead mice out of the traps, and I feed them to one of my little dogs, who has taken quite a delight for the taste of mice. And another thing that I do with the dead mice is that I get them by the tails and I run them along, sort of wiggling them along on the ground in front of this particular little dog, and she chases them and jumps on them before she eats them. She's probably about a 8 or 9 month old pup. So I'm teaching this pup how to be a mouser in that way. And that's probably something similar to how a mother dog would teach its baby to hunt. So, yeah, and this dog is a very, very clever little dog. It's a Jack Russell Kelpie cross. And Jack Russells have been bred for probably about 150 or 200 years or something to be ratters and mouses and rabbiters, and that's what they're bred for. So obviously she's got that in her genetics, and if she can learn how to hunt mice, then she will get to be an indoor dog. And so this is a possible solution. If you can't get a cat, then you can actually train a small terrier-type dog to be a mouser. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Yeah, and there are other things to do. And I had a thought about this. So you said 12 inches long, 6 inches wide, and 1 inch thick for this live trap. And I was thinking, if there were a trap a little bit bigger, actually a lot bigger, let's say 6 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 6 feet thick, we could use those to trap politicians.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, you know, then we could figure out what we're going to do with them once we trap them. Now we could bring them to an island, you know, where there's no service to and from, just, you know, drop them off at an island and, you know, let them enjoy the challenges of working with fellow politicians. Just politicians would live on this island. And we'd give them some food initially to get them started, and then we'd let them leave them to their own devices and see how they get along with each other and see if they decide to be cannibals or not. But let them see what it's like, you know, living without being a parasite and try to survive the way the rest of us do. I had another thought. So, class, if you have a problem with mice and you want to build your own mousetrap virtually for free, if you've got a 5-gallon bucket, here's what you can do. You need a couple things. You need a small board, and that's a ramp. So think of it like the mice need to get to the top of the bucket. So you have a board, let's say 2 feet long, and it can be 3 inches wide, 4 inches wide, 5 inches wide, 6 inches wide, any of those widths. And that board is the ramp that they use to climb to the top of the bucket. The bucket is filled with about 2 inches of water at the bottom, maybe 3 inches of water, and maybe 4 or 5 or 6. You can experiment with that. And then you need like a coat hanger wire. And what you do is you drill about an inch down from the rim, the top rim of the bucket. You drill 2 holes, small holes, just enough to feed the coat hanger wire through. And you put one as you look down at this bucket, one at 3 o'clock and the other at 9 o'clock. Then you feed the coat hanger wire through the first hole, and you put a center hole in the bottom of a soda can, an aluminum soda can, and then at the top of the soda can. So the soda can will spin like a bearing on this coat hanger wire. So the soda can is suspended in the center of the bucket, because the coat hanger wire goes from the 3 o'clock hole through the soda can and out the 9 o'clock hole. So if you used your fingers, you would be able to easily spin the soda can. You put a little bit of peanut butter on the soda can, and you leave a gap between the board and the soda can, one that the mouse can jump. And when the mouse jumps for the peanut butter, it lands on the soda can and spins, and the mouse falls into the bucket and drowns. Now, it's not a pleasant death. It's going to be miserable, but it is free, and it's going to eliminate the problem of the mice, or at least much of the problem. And that's a common mouse trap that costs virtually nothing. Any comments, Guineith?
Yeah, I have a similar type of trap to that, which is one that I built myself. Unfortunately, it hasn't been very successful. I think that I'll have to. I put a piece of electrical conduit, and I threaded an arrow through it, and I put the arrow from one end. That is an arrow that you fire out of a bow, but this arrow it had seen better days. So I stripped the flights off it, and I took the head off it, and I used it for, instead of a coat hanger wire, I threaded it through the piece of electrical conduit, and I painted the peanut butter onto the electrical conduit. But I'll have to refine that design, because the mice have figured out how to walk on the electrical conduit without the conduit spinning on the arrow and dunking them into the water. So they are pretty clever creatures, and there's a reason why they've been so successful. But this little seesaw trap, this commercial type seesaw trap, they're so successful because the mice, it's like if you took your politician trap, by example, if you had a one-way door where the politician saw a big pile of money sitting in the middle of the trap, it would be pretty hard for him to resist. And he would push the door, and he wouldn't be able to figure out how to get out, because there would be no way for, the door would swing around, and there would be no way for him to then, reverse it and get out again. That would be, But it's interesting that you mentioned that about putting them on a desert island and getting them to sort things out themselves. That's called marooning, and that has a tradition going back hundreds and hundreds of years as a pirate punishment. If there was one pirate who was so badly behaved that all the other pirates simply could not abide by his behavior anymore, or if he did something which was against the rules, and pirates had rules. They had pirate codes, and, they had to, because otherwise their whole society would have quickly descended into chaos, because these people were criminals, and criminals don't want to obey laws. That's the whole point. That's the point of being a criminal. You don't want to obey rules and laws. But they found that they had to, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to get anything done. So pirates would set up pirate codes, and there have been a handful of pirate codes that have survived. One popular one was Bartholomew Roberts' pirate code. So it's not just out of Pirates of the Caribbean, but they had marooning as a punishment under a number of pirate codes that have been found. And things that were banned in pirate codes included, funnily enough, stealing. Stealing from the ship's store was punishable by death or marooning. You would think that pirates wouldn't have stealing as a offence on their ship, but actually it was absolutely an offence on just about every pirate ship out there. If you stole from the common store or stole from another pirate, then you would either be executed, death penalty, or you'd suffer marooning, or you would be put on another method of marooning would be to to be dropped off at some place where he was sure to encounter hardships. For instance, I don't know, being dropped off in a major town when everybody knew their ship, and that if a pirate was actually caught in the town on his own, his chances of surviving would be slim. But it's really interesting that you mention marooning, because I think that politicians are the biggest bunch of pirates and criminals out there. So maybe it is a bit of it is time that they began to face a bit of pirate justice.
Well, and I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be all politicians. I think it should just be the ones who are guilty of criminal activity, pedophilia, etc. So that's almost all of them, right?
Yeah.
There might be one.
There are a few who have tried to walk the straight and narrow path.
Yeah, there might be one.
Here in Australia, a favourite is Pauline Hanson. I think she's tried to do really, really well to actually run the show properly. And she set up her own political party, which is called One Nation. And she was accused of everything under the sun. And she's not guilty. And she's this red-headed Australian, probably Australian-Irish or Australian-Scottish woman. And she's got a loud, striny voice, but she speaks her mind, she speaks the truth, and everybody here in Australia absolutely loves her. Except for the ones who are engaged in all the rotten activity. They don't like her.
Class, I've got a comment about something I heard during the commercial break. And normally it's the kiss of death for a broadcaster to comment on commercials, but I'm going to do it. And I invite this advertiser to come on the air with me, and I'll give him the number right now, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And the website is endfamilyfire.com, endfamilyfire.com. Now, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to make sure that children are not killing each other or family members by loaded firearms in the house. However, here's what I did. When our children were young, I taught them about firearm safety. I taught them how to shoot. I started with a .22 single-shot rifle, and I taught them how to shoot that and shoot accurately at a very young age, like 6. I taught our children how to shoot a revolver, .22 caliber revolver, same age, and how to shoot a semi-automatic pistol and a semi-automatic rifle. And we graduated from single-shot rifle to one cartridge in it, or with one cartridge in it, a revolver with one cartridge in it, to a semi-automatic rifle, .22 with one cartridge in it, and a semi-automatic pistol with one cartridge in it. And we moved on up to multiple cartridges. And I showed them the destruction that could happen downrange when you hit your target. And I taught them about the recoil. And I showed them what the danger was. And they experienced it firsthand by shooting it at cans. And they realized that if they went to their friend's house and their friend pulled out, daddy's rifle, pistol, revolver, shotgun, that they were not to play with it. And then I called the police and asked them, the sheriff's office, and asked them if they would come and teach our children about gun safety. And they came over. And so, but that was in the good old days. I'm talking 30 years ago. Actually, maybe more than 30 years ago. I don't know if I'd call the police now and have them involved, because they'd probably write down the serial numbers or video them or something, and for confiscation later. But that's what I did. Now, if maybe you want to take the police part out of the equation and teach your own children about firearm safety, and without distractions. Gwyneth, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I would, if I was going to teach my children about gun safety, I don't have firearms here. I have archery equipment instead. So it's been a similar regimen, except with bows and arrows instead of firearms. And because the thing is, if I did have firearms here, there's no way that I would ever tell anybody about them, especially not on air, but I don't. So, because of Australia's, tyrannical gun laws, I would have to have the police walking through my house if I wanted to legally have a firearm here. And I'm not happy for the police wandering through my house. So I don't have one.
Do you think royalty walks around? You think royalty walks around with a little Derringer in their pocket?
Probably, and I don't think that anybody bothers.
Yeah. And here's another thought, class. Royalty sewn into the cuffs of their clothing are handcuff keys. So if a member is put in the handcuffs, they've got the key within reach of their hands, and they can unlock the handcuffs.
That's actually a really good idea.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the keys can be plastic, okay, as well as metal, and they're tiny. But that's true. Yeah. And they probably have bribery coins sewn into maybe their belts or their shoes or some article of clothing, so they can take out, a sovereign gold coin and say, look, I'll tell you what, I can give you some gold right now. Just kind of let me loose. All true. All true.
That's actually all a really good idea. This is it.
Yeah, and
I have to say that if anybody did come around here, even without firearms, I think they'd find they had their hands full.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, class, I was talking with Mrs. Finelli, and I said, boy, we're really spiraling down. She said, absolutely. It is crystal clear that society is in collapse mode. People are killing each other without even knowing who they're killing. They're just reckless behavior, careless behavior, murderous behavior. You need to get out of Dodge. Normally I don't read emails that I receive, and class, if you want to send me an email, Instructor at usaprepares.com, INSTRUCTOR at usaprepares.com. USA Prepares, one word, .com. So this comes from Terry. I'm not going to use Terry's last name. Quote, I live in China, and I can tell you the only concern of a Chinese businessman is to get your money into his pocket. His main strategy is to package his product to look good hanging on the store shelf. Once your money is in his pocket, you can never get a cash refund for your defective purchase. You can only get it replaced with another copy of his defective product. End quote. Sounds like Terry was listening to many of the broadcasts when I talk about the substandard defective Chinese products. Maybe he heard me talking about the fuel filters. Maybe he heard me just now for the first time talking about an Easy Go golf cart. And when you change the oil filter or clean the oil filter of an Easy Go golf cart, 295 cc or so, very well made, with a Robin engine, spelled Robin, R-O-B-I-N. I believe it's pronounced Robin. It's a Japanese engine. And it has a very fine mesh screen oil filter. And you take the oil filter out, and it's a little cylinder about the size of a roll of nickels, if you will. And you take like a brush, and you brush out the oil filter in maybe diesel fuel or a solvent, or you spray it with carburetor cleaner. And you blow it off with compressed air and put it back in. It's a great design. But the replacement oil filters, if you need a replacement, are sold on eBay. And they're about, let's say $12 for two of them. Or you can buy one like the original equipment one for $26 a piece. Or so. Or more. And the problem with the inexpensive ones is they're made in China. And the oil filters are a pleated fine mesh screen. So if you've looked at an air cleaner and you've seen how they zigzag the paper element, so there's a lot more surface area than if they just went round one time without zigzagging, they can get maybe 3 times as much filter media with lots of zigzags as they would if they didn't have the zigzags. Well, the original equipment oil filter from the Robin engine company is pleated with lots and lots of pleats. So the surface area is about as much as it could possibly be for that diameter filter. Well, the Chi-Com ones that you can buy on eBay, most of them are not pleated. They're just a cylinder of screen mesh. There is no way that a cylinder of screen mesh can have as much surface area or as much filter media as the zigzag design, which is why they use the zigzag design. It's way harder to build a zigzag design than it is to build a cylindrical design. Now, the Chi-Coms that sell these on eBay don't tell you that it's substandard. They just tell you it fits. How about that? How about that? So the Chinese manufacturers of substandard products, in my opinion, are killing American farmers and businesses and operations with these substandard filters. I'm talking about gas filters, I'm talking about oil filters, and I'm talking about substandard parts, like the kind they sell at the auto parts store that come from China. You can even buy a drive shaft on eBay for an all-wheel drive Mercedes-Benz for about $150, shipped, made in China. Or you can buy the one made by Mercedes-Benz for, let's say, $1,000. What is happening is the Chinese businesses have gotten together either formally or informally, and they have destroyed American commerce. You want proof? Craftsman. Craftsman tools used to be made in the United States. Now most Craftsman tools are made in China. And if anybody buys them, as compared to Harbor Freight tools, which are made in China. Harbor Freight has killed Craftsman. Think about that. And Sears. Not alone. They've had some help with stupid management from Sears. But think about that. You used to be able to go to Sears and buy Kenmore, and you knew it was good. You knew it. You could buy a Kenmore vacuum cleaner. World class. World class. At a very fair price. You could buy a Kenmore washing machine, refrigerator, dryer, dishwasher, and you knew it was good. You knew it was good. And you went to Sears, and you could buy weather beater paint. You could buy Craftsman clothes. As a matter of fact, I have a shirt on that came from Sears. I believe it has a Field Master label on it. It's a mechanic shirt, because right after the broadcast, I'm going out to work on a tractor. It's 40 years old. Actually, I think it's older than that. Let's see. 80, 90. It's 50 years old. Who else do you know that wears a shirt that's 50 years old besides me? And it's in great shape. I don't look like a bum with it. I look like a mechanic. Blue jeans and a dark gray mechanic shirt with pocket flaps. So the greed of American businessmen who bring these defective Chinese products into the United States and sell them are killing us. And our politicians who should be in these live traps are allowing it. Guineith?
Yeah, I think that the Chinese would respond something like, oh yes, but nobody make you buy our product. You're one who buy our product. And that'd be right. But the thing is that often these days we have no choice but to buy the Chinese product because they've absolutely annihilated every other manufacturer. And the governments here in Australia, if you're earning anything over about $45,000 or $50,000 a year, the government wants to take half of your paycheck off you, and you literally almost half. I think something like about 45%, and you literally never even see it. So you think that you're getting just under $1,000 a week income, and your pay arrives from your employer, and there's just over $500 in there for the week. And you said, well, what's going on? You're an absolute you're an absolute fool. You're an absolute idiot if you work for a wage and get money automatically transferred into your bank account here in Australia. Everybody just about either works on a self-employed basis or takes cash payments from their employer. Unless you work for a major corporation, and then they have to abide by the government rules. So, this is it. But if you have any sense whatsoever, if you work for a major corporation and you have any sense whatsoever, you're going to ask your employer if they can hire you on a subcontract basis, and you're going to get something called an Australian business number, which is a business registration number, and then you are no longer an employee. You are then self-employed. So then you get to enjoy all the benefits of being self-employed, like, for instance, no compulsory superannuation taken out of your paycheck, which is what we call Social Security payments. There'll be no tax taken out of your paychecks. There'll be no insurance premiums taken out of your paychecks. And that means that you get to keep all your paycheck, but you have to deal with your own taxes. You have to deal with your own superannuation, which is Social Security. You have to deal with your own insurance premiums, and so on and so on and so forth. But a lot of Australians are choosing to run their lives that way because it's to be quite honest, it's simply better value. Because the superannuation people rip people off. The people who over in the United States, your equivalent program would be the 401k and IRA program. If you've got somebody else running your 401k or your IRA, you're a fool, because they're going to take a cut out of everything that you think is going into your superannuation. They're going to take a commission off of it. They're going to be making themselves rich off of your retirement income that you think you're putting aside for your retirement, and so much of it gets taken out by the manager that when you go to get it, when you get to be old and you think you want to retire, then there's not actually going to be very much there. And you're going to be in a pickle at that stage of your life. But this is
Guineith,
it.
When you say
Everybody is out to rip everybody else off. And these people, everybody from the from the superannuation agents or the pension IRA, 401k agents, right down along the line, motor vehicle registrations, birth certificates, any time that you go and deal with a government agency these days, it's going to cost you money some way or other. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And when the government says you need to register your business, which I'm going to tell our student on Friday when we talk about taxes, I'm going to tell them that I haven't registered my business. I've registered USA Prepares to protect its name, but I do not have a business license in the county where we are living. And I told them I wasn't going to get one. They said, well, it's only $25. But here's what happens. When you get that $25 license for permission to earn a living, you are then on the database from which they audit you. That gives them, here's another business we can go snoop on. And they don't check you immediately. They check you the next year. So you don't tie the fact that you told them you've got a business and then they come and get you. So they just space it out about a year. Then they come after you. And by the way, superannuation, that would be a pension program. That would be the common definition of what Guineith is talking about. But here's something that's important. 10 handcuff keys on eBay, $12.99 for 10 of them. That's $1.30 a piece. Yeah, class, for $12.99 shipped, you can get 10 handcuff keys, and you can sew them in your shirt cuffs or your jacket cuffs, or your belt if you choose to do so. But I suggest if you're going to get these, that you experiment with them beforehand. Find someone with handcuffs or buy a set of handcuffs that use a standard key, and make sure you know how the handcuffs operate, and that you can get your key out wherever you have it concealed so that it is available. And we did training, this kind of training at our meetup. And we had handcuffs, and we let anyone try them who wanted to use real handcuffs and try to get out of them with the key. So, you ought to know that. You ought to know that. Royalty has the handcuff key, so why shouldn't you? As Rich Sheban says, if they can do it, you should be able to do it. Guineith, any comments?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. I was going to say, gosh, on eBay you've got these little, some of these handcuff keys are in a coin. I've seen other ones that are in a little neck pendant that is the shape of an arrowhead, and apparently you can use the arrowhead as well, so that if you're in an emergency situation and you need to, use an arrow and you don't have one available, then you can quickly make an arrow. So people might say, well, why would you need to do that? I can tell you that an arrow is a highly effective weapon. And there were wars between the U.S. Army and the Indians where the Indians won, simply because the U.S. Army ran out of bullets before the Indians ran out of arrows, because the Indians could make the arrows out of pretty well anything, and all that they had to do was cut the supply lines, and the U.S. Army sooner or later ran out of ammunition. And this is it. But yeah, this is it. I think that people need to learn how to use these sorts of things. I think I'm actually going to buy some of this type of thing in the very, very near future, because you never know when you're going to need them. And I think that, to be without it when you need it is going to be a real obstacle. But if you have it on you all the time and just get into the habit of carrying these things, then you know that it's going to be a benefit to you. But you have to learn how to use whatever it is ahead of time. So whether you get the ones with a little press-out keys and a plastic coin, and you want to make sure that they work and that they're not just cheap Chinese junk ahead of time before you need them. Because you might find that the first one that you buy is cheap Chinese junk that fails and that doesn't work. And then we won't buy that one again and try again. Go back to eBay and order another sort. Maybe order something that's actually made in the United States. Because that is actually one area where you still get some American manufacturing is survival and preparedness supplies and, firearms supplies. There are still some, gun parts and such like being made in the United States. I think probably because it is so hard to import that sort of thing. So it's kept the at least some American firearms manufacturers and firearms parts manufacturers in business. So does that make sense, Vincent?
Yeah. What we did, the reason we had this meetup class on handcuffs is to show how they work, how uncomfortable they are, and how they can be released and, or opened up. And that's what the other team does. They carry these things around. The blue team carries these things around along with their, rifles, pistols, shotguns, ammunition, two-way radio, tasers, nightsticks, billy clubs, flashbang grenades, all the things that they carry with them. And we walk around in our blue jeans and belt and sneakers. So we're outgunned and certainly outnumbered when they show up, because they show up like 5 or 6 cars at a time. We'll be right back, and I see we've got a call on line 2. Joining us via telephone from West Virginia, Arjun. Welcome.
Hey, Vincent. I was wondering, yesterday you mentioned that like 90% of the population live close to Walmart. And I was wondering if we buy like food from Walmart, if the food is manufactured and transported here in United States, still the collective money will go to the Chinese. Now I was wondering that is there any other store I can go to just to buy food, and so that like our contribution is less towards China. Yep.
Absolutely. There are a couple chain stores that you can buy food from. One is called Save a Lot, Save-A-Lot. That's one. I don't know where the ownership is, but it could be American. And the other is Aldi, A-L-D-I. Now, Aldi is a German company. It's owned privately by, I think, 2 brothers. One of them died, I believe, recently. But a lot of the products that they sell are made in the United States. However, what has been happening with Aldi is they have been decreasing the square footage of the food area of their grocery/supermarket stores, and they've been bringing in Chinese products like hamburger flippers for grills, little tool sets, Chinese junk. They've been bringing that in, mats, they can stand on, kitchen accessories, stainless steel pots and pans and things like that. So they're bringing those kinds of items in from China. They've been displacing the food, but yet I believe overall Aldi is a good place to go. However, their quality has suffered in recent years. They're not, if you buy their pasta, you used to be able to keep it for 5 or 6 years and it would still be good. Now, if you buy pasta from them, their house brand, or at least a year ago, what we noticed is it would grow bugs. The bugs loved it. And I think the eggs were, built into the pasta. So I wouldn't buy pasta from Aldi, based on my experience with them. As a matter of fact, same thing happens with Walmart's house brand. And maybe it's the same factory that makes Walmart's house brand pasta that makes Aldi's house brand pasta, because they grow bugs as well. And class, if you've experienced any of these things, feel free to call in and let us know your dissatisfaction with certain products. Now, make sure it's bona fide. Don't make it up. And I wouldn't expect you would. But I would shop at Aldi, and I believe that there are Aldi stores in West Virginia where you're located. By the way, Arjun, I wanted to mention that you and I will be broadcasting on Friday, hour number 1. I didn't say who you were before, but you bought the house. You bought the house, and my plan is to teach you some things that will save you a lot of money. And I wanted to congratulate you on taking that step in buying that house. So you lived in an apartment or a rented house, and then you bought a house, right?
Yeah. So the thing is that, like, in New Jersey, I was living in an apartment which was like close to $1,400, like complete rent for 1 month, including electricity and gas. It was like close to $1,500. And so what I did, I followed your program, from last year, and then I thought that I can easily move to West Virginia because the thing is that the taxes are pretty low here, and so first of all I rented a house here. And then I started looking for a house to buy. So I just, with renting, my credit history is not that good and nobody will actually loan me money. So I paid these guys 3 months completely just to rent a house. And it was just $470 per month. I could rent a house. And so I paid them completely close to $2,000 so that I can rent the house completely. It includes the security. So after 3 months, I can move out, and that's how they let me in this apartment here in West Virginia. So then I started looking for houses, and then we bought the cheapest house that we had. It is very cheap, but then again, there's a lot of work, and we will discuss this on Friday. There's a lot of work that we need to do to fix it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when he says a lot of work, he's not kidding. He's absolutely not kidding. If he were going to dust this house, he would need a front end loader on a tractor. Am I exaggerating?
No. Actually, I removed the trash from that house, and it took two times. I filled the 20 feet truck from U-Haul and placed the trash. The complete truck is filled with trash, and then I went to landfill to throw it, and so and it's still there is one truck of trash is still left outside. so it's that much.
Yeah. So I was not exaggerating that you'd need a front end loader to dust that house, but I think it's wonderful that you've done it, and we'll talk about this on Friday. I've got a lot of suggestions, and we're making the understanding that you bought this with starting your business before you bought this house, and you're going to operate your business from this house because you are a work from home employee or contractor. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. And
okay.
Yep, that is true. Yep, exactly. Yep.
Okay, so let me say this very clearly, class. Since he decided to start his business and run it out of his house, he's going to be able to take the most unbelievable tax deductions. He's not going to be paying tax. He is not going to be paying tax if he follows the plan outlined by the IRS, delineated specifically by Vincent Finelli on Friday, hour number 1. You won't be paying any tax. Except maybe sales tax.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Very good, Arjun. Anything else you wanted to say about Walmart?
Look, that's There's one more thing. Like I have like this Kroger store which is close to me. Is that that's not backed up by Chinese guys, I guess, right?
No. I believe Kroger is a United States company.
All right. Okay.
I'm going to look it up.
Good.
And
good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you know, the problem is Walmart didn't start out to be a Chinese factory outlet, but that's what it became. So Kroger, or the Kroger Company, is an American company. It was founded by Bernard Kroger in 1883 in Cincinnati, Ohio. And it's the largest, supermarket it's the United States' largest supermarket, operated by revenue. Now, so Kroger is not as big as Walmart, that's for sure. But Walmart is not considered a grocery or supermarket chain. It's considered I don't know what it's considered. The big gorilla in the room. It sells everything. Oil, tires, batteries, food, fertilizer, etc. But, Kroger has 2,800 stores in 35 states. So I think you can feel comfortable, shopping there.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Vincent, and I will talk to you on Friday.
I'm looking forward to Friday. Have your questions ready and be prepared to give us a very brief summary of your property that you bought and what you're going to be doing there, what your business is. We'll just take like 3 or 4 minutes, and then I will give advice to you that is advice that anyone who wants to start his or her own company, regardless of what the company is, regardless of it. The advice I'm going to give will save everybody an enormous amount of money. And if you're a tax accountant and you want to challenge me, feel free to do so. If you're the IRS and you want to challenge me, feel free to do so. You can call in. I'm not going to give you a lot of time, but because you won't be able to win the argument. Arjun, thank you so much for calling.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. Okay, so Arjun's going to be with us on Friday. Guineith, back to you.
Yeah, I think the summary of what I wanted to say today was that we're going to have to learn how to live our lives without their systems. And that is, that goes to everything. Okay? So, I mean, I'm speaking to myself here as well, because I still rely on government systems. I'm sure to some degree that you rely on their systems as well, because everybody does. It's been so installed into every single corner of our lives that, you can't even scratch yourself without having to encounter some government system or other. But their systems are going away, even though it might not look like they're going away. They are, because they don't know how to run anything. Their systems are inefficient, and they're tyrannical, and they're an inconvenience. And we're just going to have to
you're right.
doing without them. Does that make sense?
You're right. You're absolutely right. And let me give you a concrete example of something that I have done. So we have this farm, and let me just describe it. It's a mile long. The farm is 1 mile long, and on average, it's 1/3 of a mile deep. And it's a long way to get from here to there. It really is. And if we have to carry some fencing or something like that, it's heavy, it's far, it's laborious. So I decided to buy a Jeep. Well, the whole family decided to buy a Jeep. A used Wrangler Jeep. It's 1991. We've had it for several years now. And we bought it from a guy who had it on the road. It was a young person, and it had license plates. And we put it on a trailer and took it home. Fixed it up and did not register it with the government. So this is a Jeep that we have that has not been registered with the government. Now, how is it possible that we did that? Well, if you don't drive it on the road, you don't have to register it. At least that's my understanding. And I'm not going to pay those guys every year for the privilege of keeping this Jeep on our farm. I'm not going to do it. And I haven't done it. And I changed the oil in it a few days ago. And I looked at, and what I do is I keep records in the vehicles. I cut off the side of the oil filter box. And so this one happens to use a Fram PH8 oil filter, or PH8A oil filter. So I cut off the side and I write the date and I write the mileage. And I write what oil I used, what else I did, if I put a belt on it or a water pump or something like that. I cut off the side of the box so I know that I got it from, AutoZone or wherever I got the part from. I put the date on it so I know where I got the part, what the part is, when I put it in, and what else I did. And do you know that we've driven that Jeep on our farm over 3,000 miles? Wow. 3,000 miles on the farm. So if the IRS wants to know why I'm using this Jeep, it's because I need it. And it's a tax deduction, including the oil and the tires and the fuel and everything else that goes with it. Guineith is with us live in Australia. Guineith, I think the takeaway from your class today is, very simply put, we are on our own. There's nobody to call, and you're responsible for your actions and your inactions. You have to do it because society is in free fall. It's in collapse. We have such oddities, such perversion as Bruce Jenner running as Caitlyn Jenner, saying he's a girl. Biologically, he's a man, and it thinks it wants to run for governor of California. Class, you are on your own. You literally are, and I think that's what Guineith is saying. Certainly, that's got to be the theme of today's broadcast. Yes?
Yeah, I would say that is the case. I'll tell you what, Vincent. Would I be able to just in the last few minutes of the broadcast? I have something that I do for relaxation. Okay, I write fiction, and it's not even about becoming a famous author anymore. I write novels for my own enjoyment and for my own entertainment, and then sometimes I post them on Amazon, and very, very occasionally I sell one. So if anybody wants to search for my novels on Amazon, they can just they can go to the search function and they can type in Guineith Isaacs, and they can find my novels there. And they are adventure romance novels, and they are, if you're a teen or if you're a child, these novels are not for you, because they have pirates and they have highwaymen, and they have generally scenes that are not suitable for children and young people to read. But if you're of a mature audience and you enjoy a bit of swashbuckling adventure, then you can certainly go and buy some of my novels if you feel so inclined. And it's a hobby, so it's not taxable income that I'm getting from it under the Australian tax law. Okay, so it's just something that I do to amuse myself. And I have almost finished my latest novel, and so within about a month or so, that will be appearing on Amazon as well. Does that make sense, Vincent? And I say, it's gangster. It's gangster. It's highwaymen. It's pirates. It's swashbuckling, and this is what I do to escape the brutality of the modern world. This is actually less. It's actually a release for me to write these novels. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what you've done when you describe that this is not taxable income for you is you've read the rules of the road.
Yeah.
And I've read the IRS tax code, and I know what the rules are. So that's why I can say, if you're with the IRS and you want to challenge me, go ahead, and I'll beat you up right on the air. I will, with the facts. I'm not going to yell and scream, but I'm going to make the case that what I'm saying is absolutely true. So that's kind of what we do. That's who we are. We know the rules. We've read the rules, and we play by the rules. And we don't make the rules. They're their rules. But most people are so afraid because they don't know the rules that they don't know what they can and can't do. And that's why I'm going to talk about this on Friday, hour number 1. I'm going to talk about what can be done with the tax code. And the paint that Arjun buys is tax deductible when it applies to his business. It's tax deductible. Now, why would you buy paint that's not tax deductible when you can buy paint that is tax deductible? And all you have to do is be in business. And all you have to do to be in business is to say, I'm in business, and try to earn a profit. Okay? We're not talking about tax evasion. Tax evasion is illegal. What's tax evasion? That is not paying taxes that are due. So if you are a babysitter and you don't report the income, if you're required to, that's tax evasion. Having your babysitting earnings in an offshore account like politicians do, that's tax evasion. Reporting babysitting is what you should be doing. But there are plenty of deductions you can use to offset. Like the clothes that you need to buy to be a professional-looking babysitter that may offset all the income that you make because you want to look good for the job. That's what I'm talking about doing. I'm talking about playing by their rules. Gwyneth, any quick comments in the last few seconds? Your book is on Amazon.com. Guineith Isaacs. Guineith, Isaacs. Guineith?
Yep. I just want to say, just in summary, make sure that you look after yourself and your own as a top priority.